What is up, YouTube? My name is Eben, and today we are coming up with a deck that's meant to fight Night March, one of the common threats right now. It's still a little experimental, but I wanted to share it with you guys because I've seen a lot of Night March in the past few weeks, and I feel like maybe you have too, and maybe you'd like to see some creative way of dealing with it. So we're running 2 copies of Noctowl Break. This is a Noctowl Vileplume deck, and we definitely have the room and the ability to play these Noctowl breaks, so why not? It's a break that's got 130 HP, not the most exciting, but it takes only 3 colorless energy to power it up, and we don't absolutely have to have this guy, of course. But it does 60 damage, you check your opponent's hand, and it does 30 more damage for each trainer in it. Not item, not stadium, not supporter, all of them. Every kind of trainer. So this can very easily dish out huge damage, and this is a great way to pick off EXs with very heavy HP, or even Megas, or things carrying Fighting Fury Belt, etc. In fact, under the right circumstances, you might even be able to shoot down something as big as Wailord in a single shot. So definitely a nice card to have around, a good option, because this is going to be a slow and control-y kind of match. Now, we are running our primary attacker. We're running 4 copies of Noctowl, and he's pretty much just here for his high flight attack, which is 20 damage. Well, both players reveal their hand, and it's 20 damage for each item card in each player's hand. And of course, with Vileplume out on the field, nobody can play items, so those are just going to be stacking up in everyone's hands, making Noctowl stronger and stronger and stronger. And with its 90 HP, it's also a great level ball target as well. Now, to support those, we're of course running 4 copies of Hoot Hoot. And what's really kind of cool about this Hoot Hoot is it's not just something that's gonna, it's just here to evolve, but its Proclaim the Night is actually not a bad attack, as it's basically like a no damage Quaking Punch, which is pretty good for a little non-EX basic like Hoot Hoot. It just straight up says for 2 colorless, which is your double colorless energy, your opponent can't play any item cards from his or her hand during his or her next turn. Other than using the phrase his or her quite a bit, yeah, this attack is a great sort of alternative Vileplume if you get into kind of a weird situation, which could be pretty important. So it's nice to have that option and kind of keep that in the back of your mind. We are running 3 Vileplumes, of course, just for its irritating pollen, which means that neither player can play any items. So what we want to do is play all our items quickly to get our setup, and then save the rest and any others we top deck, of course, just to power up our Noctowl. And we're running 3 Glooms and 3 Oddiches as well to get that powered up. So a 3-3-3 line there. And our last Pokemon, yes, we're running a lot of Pokemon, but it's important, is 1 copy of Bunnelby. This can be a great way, even with Vileplume out, to recur very important cards back into your deck thanks to its Rototiller. And of course, you might be able to win by burrowing against the right opponent to deck them out. So, you know, once again, nice options to have. But Rototiller is pretty much your only way to get back double colorless energy. There are 1 or 2 other options in the format, but obviously this is the one for us. And it can also retrieve things like Noctowl in a pinch if you need to. It's options. It can do a lot of cool things for us. Make sure we don't get caught by accelerating and then our opponent doing something unexpected. So onto our supporters. We don't run an overabundance of them, but we're running 4 Sycamore just because we really do need to aggress and draw those cards. So making sure that we top deck that Sycamore is kind of important. So we do have to run 4. And we do run 1 Teammates for all the obvious reasons. We have no EXs, so this is a very useful supporter for us. Just a great way to recover out, make sure we get like the Noctowl and the DCE or something like that for the next turn. We have 1 copy of a Z. And remember, we can Versus Seeker these, and what you want to do is kind of go off in your turn, discard a bunch of stuff, and then fire off your Versus Seekers before you drop your Vileplume out on your first turn, so you just have kind of a hand of resources kind of thing. But if Vileplume ever gets like Hex Maniac, then obviously these are options you'll have ready to kind of regain control of the game. But anyway, we do have AZ because it can pick Vileplume up, say out of the active slot or something like that, or if you need to turn it off for a turn, you can AZ it, play the things you need to play, and then thanks to Force of Giant Plants, just replay that Vileplume straight down. So it's a pretty gosh darn useful supporter in this deck. And of course, we do run 1 Lysander, because that can be great for picking off things like Shaman, which in a deck like this, your opponent might not expect that you can do with your Noctowl, but we do want to have that option at our disposal. And among our other trainers, we of course run 3 Forest of Giant Plants, just enough to get it out on that first turn, because after that it's going to be kind of useless, except as another stadium counter, so don't really need to run the full 4. And we do have 3 Versus Seekers. Once again, once Vileplume's out, this doesn't do anything. It's another item we can draw and have in our hand for Noctowl. But basically, when the time is right, you got to play this a little carefully. You can use it to pick up things that you'll be playing in successive turns. So we still definitely want to have access to it. And we've got 4 Trainer's Mail. We're just trying to get our setup here in our first turn and then have these stack up in our hand for Noctowl. Or if our opponent gets rid of our Vileplume somehow, then definitely we'll have the ability to kind of recover there. So 4 Trainer's Mail, nice utility. We've got 4 Acro Bikes to help us draw into things. Don't be afraid to discard extra Glooms and Vileplumes and Oddishes and stuff like that we don't need to get what you do need. So that's those. And we are still running 4 Ultra Balls. Remember, there are lots of things we can discard without too much regret. This helps us gain access to our Noctowl breaks, but also especially to Vileplume, because we really need to get that guy on that first turn. Now, to pick up our not so high HP mobs, we do run a couple of level balls just to kind of make sure we hit them. So it's definitely a nice option. And part of the reason we don't care about discarding our grass types too much is we are running 1 Revitalizer that we can use, say, after we go off, more or less. We can play Revitalizer, go get like our Gloom and our Vileplume, and then just evolve up. And an interesting option in this deck, rather than Muscle Band or something like that for Noctowl, which would be kind of fair to middle and maybe good, maybe bad, we're actually running 3 Lucky Helmets. And you can play these out easily on your first turn onto all your Hoot Hoots. No sweat indeed there. And your opponent just draws us cards, which is easily fueling our Noctowls. So every time they attack, they're just powering you up. And if they can't one-hit KO you, let's say they've got something like... Ooh, let's see. How about a Manectric EX that only has 1 energy, or a Seismitoad? Somebody who can't knock out your Noctowl in 1 shot. This is just going to draw you cards to help you revenge kill them, which is pretty awesome. And then they'll be forced to attack you again for the knockout on the next turn and draw you even more cards. And of course, once you attach it, Vileplume doesn't turn it off once it is attached, so it's a pretty good option there. And we do run two Float Stones just to slap on our Vileplume before we go off. Basically, you play it on the Oddish or the Gloom, of course, before you evolve up all the way. And this allows it to retreat for free so that Lysander isn't an issue for us. And last but not least, we are running 4 Double Colorless Energy, the main energies of the deck, because obviously that lets Noctowl just swing with a single energy attach. And we are running 3 Grass Energies because, well, if you're going to run a basic energy of some kind to help get Noctowl break up and be an alternative option to Double Colorless Energy, you'll want Grass, since you could technically power up a Vileplume or somebody like that to attack. So it's 3 Grass for us. And that is the deck. Be sure to give it a try. Like I said, this is still like a little experimental, so we could see some changes. Try it yourself, but it is definitely an interesting interpretation of Vileplume. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, check me out on Twitter. Link is below. You get to find out all kinds of updates and stuff before necessarily anybody else does. And I will see you next time.